Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about our newest IFP, IFP 41, and some of the accessories that will help complete your setup. So today, I'm going to be joined with our product manager for our IFPs, Sean Liu, along with our product manager for accessories, Logan Koitka, and we also have some special guests from Balance Box, Siord Ori and Celeste Simmons, who are going to be talking a little bit about their mounts and their carts. So to start, we're going to talk a little bit about IFP 41, but I'm going to have you watch a little trailer as we get Sean onto our camera. So enjoy this trailer on our IFP 41. Awesome. Yeah, that is an incredible product. And we're here with Sean Liu, our product manager for this product. So let's talk a little bit about districts who might have kind of mixed displays. They might have older ViewSonic panels or other brands. How do districts decide what's worth keeping and what's worth fully replacing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a couple areas we can look at. The first one is what I call the 5-year rule. So if your panels are like about 5 years old, you can look at maybe planning for replacement. There's like wear and tear. Maybe like there's OS running slow. So the longest warranty option we offer is 7 years. And if you have the 7-year coverage, I think at the 5-year mark, you can start planning on like what's the next refresh cycle look like, and it will give you time to plan out like budgeting, deployment schedule, and things like that. So gives you about like a year or two to plan that out. Another thing we can look at is if your customers, classrooms still on projectors, like really old projectors, maybe 10 years old. For sure, I highly recommend replacing with IFP or ViewBoards, just because there's a lot less maintenance. You're talking about like if you have an old projector, you are like getting bulbs, replacements, maintenance. At that point, the cost of maintenance is probably higher than replacing a board. So just at the end of the day, I think it's not about timing. It's about like whether the panel displays that you have is helping teachers or like getting in their way.
I love that. I like focusing on the teachers. As a former teacher myself, yeah, is it helping them or is it getting in their way? It's
Correct.
A great thing. Admittedly, though, I do use the 5 rule for my own phones. So I like 5 years as kind of a benchmark.
Yep.
So what sets the IFP 41 apart from some of our other panels?
So for the IFP 41, we can look at 4 different pillars. First one is security performance. We put in a new octa-core processor on the panel, and that's going to help the panel run really fast with the latest operating system and apps. Security-wise, the panel has the EDLA platform, which is a secure Android platform with Google Play Protect. Make sure all the apps are secure. So that's the first thing. Second thing is the personalization of the panel. So with the latest IFP 41, you will be able to have a personal profile. Think of a board is shared with different teachers. They walk up to the board, they can personalize it, they can have their own profile. They sign in, they can have their own apps, backgrounds, and things like that. So that's something unique about 41 series. And not just that, they can log in through multiple ways. Like they can log in through a PIN code, they can log in through their single sign-on or an NFC card. They can just tap and they can sign in to their board. One more thing is that pricing is competitive. I'm sure you guys have heard about a lot of the electronics pricing is going up a lot because of component costs, memory storage due to AI. But with the 41 series, we designed with the essential features packaged into a really competitive price package to make sure to help your customers transition if they have a 5-year-old display. They can transition at a similar price point, maybe a little bit higher, but not like a huge increase, but like a sticker shock. So those are the things that make the IP41 unique.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really love that Google Play element because there are so many ed tech apps that I used to use, and I'm like, I want to have mine directly on the left side where all that is and all my Google tools on the right side. And like, I'm very much a personalization person. So I like that teachers can personalize it and have all their favorite apps.
Yep.
So I think I talked a little bit about, the benefit of Android EDLA, but can you explain it a little bit more? Like, what is Android EDLA and what does it mean for teachers and also for IT admin?
Sure. Yeah. So EDLA stands for Enterprise Device Licensing Agreement. Basically, it just means that it's a certified Android operating system. So about 2 years ago, Google launched this platform. But before that, all the display manufacturers use an open source Android OS. It's a little bit clunky because you have to have some workarounds for like app installation, side loading, and things like that. But with a new EDLA platform or certified by Google, you'll be able to have a Play Store, Google Play services directly on a panel. That means for teachers, they can just download apps directly on Play Store. They can use it just like a regular tablet, like how they would use an Android or like a phone. For IT admins, it's even easier because it's fully compatible with the Google Admin Console. So they can manage the device using the same platform they use to manage all the Chrome devices. They can use it to manage the display panels. At the same time, for the hardware management, obviously we provide our ViewSonic manager software for management. So those are the benefits for IT and teachers.
I love that. That's amazing. So if a district already owns IFE41, maybe they're ahead of the game, they're like, let's get the latest and greatest. What is kind of the minimum accessory bundle that they would need to have like a complete setup?
Yeah, so for accessory setup wise, there are a couple of things we can look at. One is the essential accessories. Some are the additional add-on. So for the essential package, the panel itself is not going to stand up. It doesn't have the feet that you see on a TV, like it can stand up by itself, but you do need to mount it somehow. If you are putting the panel on in a more permanent location, you can use it, mount it on a wall, use a wall mount. It can also be mounted on a mobile card where you can move it around. So for like multi-purpose, you can, plug it in one room. When you're done, you can unplug it, move it to a different room, maybe for storage or for another, use like a gym or something like that. So those are the essential accessories that you need to have for the panel. Maybe additional add-on could be like a document camera, for example. If you want to project anything for like maybe the hands-on subjects like math or physics or whatever, you can project whatever you're doing to a panel with a camera. Or if you need to use, like let's say like for remote students or something like that, you can obviously plug in a webcam to the panel for like additional audience, for example.
Nice. I love that. I admittedly only had wall mounts, but I was always so jealous of the teachers that had the mobile carts so that they could, I loved rearranging my classroom. So I was like, I'm always stuck to that front wall, but I like the mobile cart for its mobility and ability to change your setup. Amazing. So thinking about accessories that are really helpful, let's talk a little bit about slot-in PCs. So can you tell us what a slot-in PC is?
Yeah, for a slot-in PC, it's basically a computer packaged in a compact form factor. So all our ViewBoards have a slot in the back of the panel that allows you to insert a PC module on the back. So talking about PC, we don't just offer Windows, we also offer Android, we also offer Chrome. So it gives users different options to put in a secondary operating system onto the panel.
Amazing. I like it. At our trade shows, we always have one connected to some of our devices, and it's kind of cool to see. It's like a separate little box, this size. It's really
very
fun.
Small, compact.
Yeah. And so why would a school decide or a district decide to purchase a slot-in PC with a panel, like maybe one of the newer panels?
So think of the PC as, let's say, a metaphor, giving a panel a new brain or a second brain, for example. So for the first case scenario where a new brain, if it's an older panel, maybe the OS is running slow, and in that case, you can instantly upgrade a panel with just the PC, and it comes with the latest and greatest hardware and runs much faster than the older operating system. And then, or the second case where maybe the school has a newer panel, but maybe they're using a lot of the proprietary like Windows software, for example. All our panels are Android-based. If they have Windows software application they need to run, they need a Windows operating system. That's when they can purchase a Windows PC and slide in the back, and now you have a dual OS running. You can choose between Android and Windows and accommodate different needs.
I see. Okay. So some teachers might like the Android. I'm a fan of it, but others might really like that Windows experience. They like the feel of a computer, or like a Chrome box, the Chrome feel. So it's like they're basically getting the system that they like and feel comfortable with.
Correct.
I love that. That's so nice. Again, thinking of our teachers.
Yep.
Amazing. And so what are some reasons schools would decide to purchase a slot-in instead of a panel?
Yeah, I think it comes down to just the cost of the replacement. You think about replacing a panel, you're looking at the labor costs of someone come on site, unmount a panel, taking it down and dispose the e-waste, and then you have a new panel, you're gonna mount it back up, unbox everything and set up the panel. Just the labor cost alone, it's probably a lot higher than compared to a replacement of a PC. Depends on the budget and the school, how much they have planned for the equipment upgrade. I think for the panels, you're talking about maybe thousands of dollars, but for the PC, it's a lot less, and there's a lot less class downtime as well. As I meant, imagine that you're installing a panel. It might be a day or two, depends on how fast installers can replace and rip the panel off and install a new panel. But for PC, it's a quick swap. Be like a minute. Open the cover on the back on a PC, you're good to go. So it's much faster. It's a lower cost option. So it really depends on how the school want to approach this upgrade.
I love this. Again, we love customization. So we're customizing for teachers, but we're also customizing for budgets, which is great. That's amazing. Well, thank you, Sean. Those are all my questions about the IFP 41 and slot-in PCs. But before you go, I'm curious if we have any questions from the audience. I can take a look at our Q&A here. I don't see any yet, but if you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. And don't worry, if Sean leaves and you have a question, we can get back to you via email. It sounds like it's looking like you explained everything really clearly.
Awesome.
Because I don't have any questions so far. And I don't see anything in the chat. So Sean, I think you're good to go for now. Thank you so much for joining us and talking about the IFP 41 and our slot-in PCs.
Thank you.
Amazing. So now we're going to talk about another small but powerful accessory. I'm bringing on Logan Koitka to talk about a beloved product, WPD 900 wireless presentation system. And I have another quick video for you to watch on that. So you can watch that while we swap out our product managers.
Hi, I'm Adam Emery, Regional Business Manager for Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And today I want to introduce you to our ViewShare product, which is a casting solution that is instantaneous. You plug in the transmitter into your display, whether it's an IFP, a CD, could also be a projector, and then the dongle device actually goes into your laptop, your MacBook, your phone, whatever device, your iPad you'd like to put this in. It's as simple as clicking the button. It's instantaneous connectivity without having to worry about getting credentials to be on someone's network. This is our second generation. We call this the 900. Feel free to reach out to any one of your ViewSonic reps in your territory. They'd be happy to bring one of these out to you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. We've switched some chairs, switched some presenters. Thank you, Logan, for joining us today. We're going to talk about a favorite among everyone here in the office, the WPD 900. So explain a little bit about what that product is.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So the WPD 900 is our wireless screencasting kit. It consists of a receiver that you plug into a panel or whatever you want to be the receiving end of the image, and then you have a little dongle that you plug into your personal device. You click a button, and instantly whatever is on your personal screen will be displayed wherever the receiver is plugged in.
It's so good. It's so tiny, but so impressive. Let's talk about, again, I'm always thinking of my teachers. How would a teacher use this in their day-to-day?
Yeah, for sure. So a teacher could, for example, prep some slides or any other material on their personal device, and then just connect the WPD dongle into their USB-C slot and instantly share whatever they have prepared. Additionally, they could make live alterations. For example, a math teacher could connect to their tablet and then write the equations, and they would be reflected live on the panel. Additionally, it's ideal because the dongle is so small, so you can take your personal device around. So depending on the teaching style, if you want to be more interactive, you can walk around, engage with the students, or if you want to sit in the back of the class and just observe, the WPD 900 really just allows you to be mobile like that. Not alternatively, but in addition, if you have multiple lessons in a row, your personal device, the battery is draining, the WPD 900 dongle has pass-through charging, so you can plug your charger into the dongle while you're casting. So it just is like all around build for teaching and that environment. So it's really awesome like that.
I love that. I know that a lot of teachers want to walk around the room and interact and annotate, but they don't want to be stuck to their desk at the front. So I think that's a really cool use case for that. And I didn't know that about the charging. I really love that. My phone is or my devices are always on low battery. So I love that it has that. So what about students? Can they use this device? And like, how would they use this? What situation would that work for?
Yeah, it's super simple. So students can definitely use it. I would say use case, for example, would be during like presentation blocks. If individual students want to give a presentation, plug the dongle into their device, can instantly give it, present, and then when they move on to the next individual, just pass it along, and you just kind of save valuable class time like that. Or group presentations, another scenario where it's ideal, the presenters can pass it along within the group, and it will allow just a seamless presentation. It's bring your own device, meaning it is compatible with most devices, Windows, Apple, Android, tablets, phones, laptops, whatever. Most likely the dongle will be compatible. So it's just meant for a variety of students. And yeah.
I like that. Really I like that students are able to just like pass it along, right? So one student's done their work, they've showed it on the board, we've talked about it, we've had a rich discussion about it, and now the next student can.
Exactly. And it's super easy. You don't have to download any apps or connect to anything. So it's really just as simple as plugging it in and starting to present. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I love that. You don't have to wait for IT to download. Very cool. We do have two products of this kind, the WPD 900 and the WPD 900E. Mm-hmm. What's the difference? What are the features and all that?
Yeah, so basically the WPD 900 and 900E are identical in almost any way. The WPD 900 has the ability for presenters to connect via AirPlay or Miracast or other dongle-less alternatives. The WPD 900E has that intentionally turned off. E stands for education, so this was created with the educational environment in mind. This would allow teachers to have full control over who is presenting and just kind of avoid unauthorized disruption. So students can't just connect with their personal device without having the physical dongle given to them by the teacher.
Okay, nice. So no kids are putting 6, 7 on the board or anything inappropriate.
Yeah.
You always have to think about what the most disruptive student is planning to do. And so I love that we created a product thinking about that student.
Yeah, be preventative.
That's amazing. So which one should a school pick? What's like that deciding factor?
I think it just really depends on what that teacher or that school is looking for. If you want a little bit more flexibility, the WPD 900 is a good choice. If you have that trust in your students that they're not going to be abusing that power, that's a good option. The WPD 900E is for the teacher that wants maybe a little bit more control. I say when in doubt, I would go with a WPD 900E. That control is just something I would really appreciate. And at the end of the day, you can just pass around the dongle. And if you are really worried about efficiency, you want people to be able to connect as quickly as possible, and maybe you're in a big lecture hall and walking from one end to the other is an issue, you can connect up to 8 dongles with one receiver. Only one dongle can present at a time, but you could hand them to different groups, for example, and people can just take turns still using the dongle to present. So when in doubt, I'd say WPD 900E, but it just depends on personal preference, really.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't know that. Also about the 8 different dongles.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. I like that. So we talked a little bit with Sean about carts. So let's kind of shift gears to carts, because I know you also are the product manager for our carts and mounts.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean had mentioned that having a mount or a cart is kind of a necessity. How would a school decide between a fixed wall mount and a mobile cart based on how the classroom's actually used?
Yeah, that's a good question. I say it depends on the just existing setup in the classroom already, and also the use case that is intended for the panel. So, for example, if a panel is going to stay in one room in one place, a wall mount is the perfect option because it kind of gets it out of the way. It gives you extra room space and floor space by being mounted on the wall. But if the walls are occupied by something else, for example, a whiteboard, a map, cubbies, whatever, and you don't have that option to mount the panel on the wall directly, a mobile cart is ideal because you can just push it in front of whatever is already on the wall. Additionally, if the panel is going to be used in different areas, different rooms, maybe different rooms are sharing that one panel, the mobile cart is also perfect because you can just roll it out of that one room, roll it into the next room. So it just gives you a lot of flexibility. So it really just depends on what you're planning and then, what your setup allows. So for example, for wall mounts, we have 3 different options. They're all kind of the same. It just kind of depends on the panel that you have. Most commonly would be the WMK 047-2, which I know is a mouthful, so you can just check on the website. For mobile carts, we have a bunch of different options. We have ultra slim ones, so that's perfect to just kind of fit them through the doorway if you're moving them around a lot. That would be the VB Stand 009. And then we also have some that are really cool. They're motorized. You can adjust the height, which is perfect for different aged students. You can adjust it for the little kids, for example, or just to allow optimal viewing. Maybe you need it to be a little bit higher so the people in the back can see. So those would be the 007 and 008. But again, for any questions on that, you can check on our website or reach out to us. And then we also have a lot of carts, specifically with balance box, and Stuart and Celeste will talk about those later. But yeah, super exciting. A lot of different options there.
Yeah, I like that. I particularly love when you mentioned having one mobile cart with a panel in different rooms, like being able to move it to different rooms, again, saving you a little bit of budget depending on if you need that. I think that's such a unique idea, and paired with IFP 41 where you can have multiple users. Now it's working for everyone. One panel for multiple classrooms is so great. So I think we talked a little bit about this, but why would a mount or a cart for our IFPs be like a necessity and not just a nice to have?
Yeah, so you always need some kind of mounting solution, whether it's a wall mount, a stand, or a cart. To be able to use the panel, they have to be in certain positions. Also kind of for the panel health, they have to be at a certain angle, and you want them to be at a certain height that's comfortable, not like on the floor. So for that, you need to have a mounting alternative. Additionally, it's just not really safe to lean the panel or set it on top of something. They're heavy, especially in an environment with students. I think that sounds very dangerous. You don't want to knock it over, damage it, and potentially hurt someone. So unfortunately, until we can invent the flying panel, you will need a wall mount or a mobile cart. Yeah, that's just part of it.
Yeah, I did talk to them yesterday being like, is that possible?
Unfortunately not. Not yet.
But not yet.
Yeah.
Someone, hopefully us, will figure it out. But in the meantime, a mobile cart stand or mount is kind of the goal. So that's all my questions for us. I know we're going to talk to the Balance Box team in a little bit, but Logan, I'm going to check to see if we have any questions. If you guys have any questions for Logan. So far, okay, actually a good amount of questions. So there may be some questions for Sean as well. He might have to hop in here. But for the WPD 900, are there potential issues with multiple wireless casting devices in such close proximity, such as a neighboring classroom? It's a great question.
As in like multiple WPD 900 dongles being in close proximity?
Yeah, think about, I'm in my classroom.
Mhm.
I have my dongle. I'm having my kids use it. But then you have your classroom next door to me.
Yeah.
Will those kids be able to connect?
That's a great question. That should not be an issue. At our office, for example, we have multiple conference rooms. They all have their own dongle. They're all right next to each other, smaller rooms than classrooms for the most part. So the dongle, you actually go through a process to connect it to the specific receiver you want it to cast to. So there shouldn't be any overlap. Also, like the scenario of having 8 dongles, you pair those 8 dongles to that receiver, and then whichever one you click the button, that is the one that's going to be casting. So if the next person wants to take over, they click the button on their dongle that is connected to that receiver, and that's how you switch around. But there should not be any confusion unless you mix up the dongles. Then of course that's a different scenario. But other than that, that is not an issue.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I didn't even think about it that we have them in our conference rooms. And yeah, I just click on it and it goes to the right one. I think because of that HDMI receiver that's inside the panel, that kind of connects it. Mm-hmm. Very cool. So someone asked about the charging port connection. Mm-hmm. What is a charging port connection, and how does this product work with VCast or AirSync? Great question.
All right, so the charging, look at the dongle. At the end, there's a little USB-C hole in it. You just plug your charger into the dongle and then the dongle into your device, and it'll just go right through. It's 60-watt pass-through charging. And it's actually just simple like that. The question with VCast and AirSync, I can get back to you on that. I have to talk to our software person.
Yeah, and I can cover a little bit about that. Yeah. So essentially they're 2 separate solutions, right? So AirSync would be if you want to have like the touchback and you want to have the sender app and you want it kind of over Wi-Fi, that would be kind of VCast, AirSync, those kind of options. This would be if you don't have Wi-Fi, connection, you don't want anything, like you don't have to put in a code, you don't have to do any of that. This is kind of a separate option. We say both work, right? It just depends on what you want. If you have the Wi-Fi connection and you want to use AirSync, you can. Again, that's an option, but if you want to plug it in, have a dongle with you with no Wi-Fi issues, that's kind of the way to go. So hopefully that answered that question, but I'll have Haley look at it, our PM for software, and see if there's anything that I missed. Amazing. These are some really good questions. Thank you. And Logan, that does look like all the questions for this. Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, and yeah, now we're going to talk to some of our special guests. We have Siord Ori and Celeste Simmons from Balance Box joining us in a bit as Logan heads out. We're going to watch a quick video. We actually got to try some Balance Box mobile carts and the height adjustment at one of our conferences. And so you'll watch a little bit about that, as well as maybe some testimonials and things. So enjoy that video as we get our next folks on.
We absolutely love the Balance Box. It's a magical experience for teachers when they first move it up and down. And I wish we had them everywhere. Can't wait to install them in every single room.
Tell us why you like the Balance Box.
I liked it because I'm 6'5" and I can't right down here. So I could lift it up higher where I can actually reach it. I thought that was great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We are at our last section with our partners at Balance Box. I have with me Stuart Ori and Celeste Simmons. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you coming by, watching the first half, and now being able to share about Balance Box.
Thanks, Alina.
So yeah, we have an amazing collaboration with you all, and we want to talk a little bit about your height adjustable. Logan had mentioned it earlier, and so now we want to kind of talk about it as it relates to your Balance Box products. So Celeste, I think my questions are for you in the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Balance Box height adjustable wall mounts and mobile carts, like the benefits or why they're the right choice for schools?
So the height adjustable mounts mean that you can adjust the height for lower age groups, elementary school, middle school, or high school. It means that you get the full usability out of your panel because you can adjust it lower, middle, or high. You can adjust it for the age group or for adults or for seated adults, such as wheelchair users. So it means that you get full adjustable qualities out of your panel, no matter the age group, from your students. Everyone can have a turn. Everyone gets to interact with it.
That's amazing. As a shorty teacher, I really appreciate that. And I also had, I was a middle school teacher, so I was the shorty, but I had students who were way taller than me. So I really love that idea that it works for, all ages, all grades. That's amazing. And so why does height adjustment matter?
So it really matters to be able to include everyone in the class. You want to be able to 4'8", and she also had a student that was 6'8", and she said that the height adjustable mounts really made a big difference in the classroom because it eliminated the pauses, it eliminated those awkward moments that you might have. Let me show you one of these adjustable mounts. This particular one is mobile. So this one just easily rolls in and out wherever you need it. And the other height adjustable mount that I have is this one with the screen. It easily just lowers to the ground, lowers lower rather, and it also raises with just a light touch. So it's a quick adjustment. It's easy. It can be mobile if you like, or it can be wall mounted. We have electric options, and we also have the manual options like you just saw. So it really helps to include everyone with the height adjustable options, as well as teachers and seated adults. And it also helps just so that everybody can see the screen. When you have a fixed height, it's just almost impossible to include everyone with something that only has one height option. So height adjustable mounts really meet a need in the classroom.
So we were able to see some of the height adjustable and how it works. I think that's amazing. And I do think that matters. I never had it when I was a teacher. I wish I did. Because again, either I'm, never able to touch that top bar, top area of my panel, or I was hopping a lot, a lot of jumping. And if you ever see me at a conference, I'm always hopping to get that top portion of the panel. Amazing. Well, now I think, Stuart, you're going to share a little bit about some of the panels and like how the height adjustment works and how easy is it for a teacher or student to operate?
Yeah, great question, Serena. So Celeste already did a great job, I think, showing some of our options and how it works. So basically for ViewSonic, we make two mounting solutions. One is motorized, it's called e-box, and the other one is manually operated, it's called Balance Box. So Balance Box, and I think Serena already, Celeste already showed it with the demo in the background. It's manually operated, and you just glide this display up and down just using a fingertip. So basically, it's very amazing. Even like a big 86-inch display or larger feels almost weightless. And the Balance Box is purely mechanical, and there's no power needed. The Balance Box actually works with a mechanical system that is inside the box, and everything is enclosed. So there's like no safety hazard whatsoever in the classroom. It has a spring tension mechanism inside, and we developed, our company developed that spring tension mechanism, which is a patented technology, about 18 years ago. And we've had a long-standing relationship with ViewSonic. We've been working with ViewSonic for about 10 years now, and together we've outfitted thousands of classrooms in the US alone with balance box and e-box. And that brings me to e-box. E-box is our motorized mounting solution. So it works with a motor and a remote. It's a wire remote. And the mount also has an anti-collision feature, which is unique. And it helps to prevent from hurting yourself. The panel touches an obstacle, like a hand on a table, and it automatically stops and it retracts. So it's a super safe product and solution for the classroom or any space in a school.
So I like that focus on safety.
Oh, yes.
I think that's really important. That's amazing. And so you mentioned, okay, spring tension and like a mechanical motorized. Aside from kind of the finger versus the thing, are there any other differences between the two?
Not a whole lot. There's different options. So the balance box gives you a different, what we call like a vertical travel. So the balance box that Celeste just showed you in the room in the back there gives you a vertical travel, so up and down of 15.75 inch. We also have a bigger mount that gives you a longer travel. So if you're looking for like a longer travel on a wall or on a mobile cart, we can do that as well. We can also accommodate the smaller or larger size panels. On the e-box, you have a slightly longer vertical travel. Our wall mount actually is unique in the US. It has a vertical travel. I don't want to throw too many technical details at you, but it has a vertical travel of 38 inch. So it almost goes to the ceiling, the panel, which is great for viewing what's on the screen in the room, right? And also you can bring it down for annotation and collaboration. So you can use your panel in many different ways. And that brings me also to our mobile carts. We have different options there as well. So you see 2 in the back. Actually, Celeste already showed you 3. What we also do is we have different wheel options. So larger size wheels or smaller size wheels. So special wheels for going into the gym, for instance, for PE teachers or even sports coaches. We also offer what we call a power pack. We introduced that last year. It's a battery. You can put the battery on your mobile cart, and then you can take your ViewBoard basically anywhere you want. And that combination, the ViewBoard in combination with the balance box, it makes a great investment because now you can use your ViewBoard in many different ways instead of just using it in the classroom. And you already alluded to that earlier on, Serena, I think. You can also use it in different spaces like libraries, performing arts spaces, like I just mentioned, in a gym. It's easier to move around from building to building through the parking lot if there's bigger wheels on the car, because that's always a critical factor on mobile cars, the wheels. And with the power pack, we're super excited about it too, because again, you have the power source on your cart. So you can basically take your cart with your ViewBoard anywhere you want. There's no power cords, there's no tripping hazards anywhere you want go with your ViewBoard.
I love that.
You also added something about safety. That's super important to us too. So all our products that we make for ViewSonic are UL certified. That means they're super safe, being used in any environment, including the classroom or anywhere on the school campus.
That's amazing. Again, I love safety. I also really love, you mentioned that it goes all the way up to the top of the ceiling, that height differential, vertical travel, I think you said. Again, as a short person, I have been in many lecture halls, classrooms where all I see is the back of someone's head and I'm turning and moving to the side to see. I love that a teacher can just put it all the way up to the wall and now everyone can see no matter what. I think that's really,
exactly. And
really
because
important.
we also manufacture and we design and develop our mounts, we can also like go into a project with the school district and even make the vertical travel specifically geared or like tailor-made for that school district or for even like a certain classroom. So we do those things as well. So we always would like to work together actively with our partners, ViewSonic and the school districts, to make sure that the combination of the two, again, ViewSonic and Balance Box, is the right fit for any school, but also for every classroom. And I think Celeste was already trying to demonstrate the e-box tilt table stand there, because not only you can move your ViewBoard like vertically up and down, you can also move it into a tilted position. You can make it into a desk, a draft desk. But also you can make it into a flat table, so you can huddle around the ViewBoard as a group or as a team in a sports environment, and use your ViewBoard that way.
Interesting. I love that you mentioned kind of the different places that you could see a mobile cart and the ViewBoard helping. You mentioned, I think, sports and performing arts, which I love because I was a music teacher. What are some other like fun ways that you've seen mobile carts helping?
So also for functions or like on the side curb in the morning, because ViewSonic is also or a ViewBoard can also be used for messaging, right? So dropping off your kids in the morning, you can actually put a message on that board and put that mobile card on the curbside and have parents drive by and see what's going on or what the important messages for the day, those kind of things. I mentioned sports, and that's very wide. So working with like a lot of high school coaches, PE teachers already, because they've always been struggling with bringing technology onto the gym floor, or even like going from building to building. If you have to go through a parking lot or on a concrete sidewalk to the gym or to another like the performing arts hall or center, it's always a struggle to get your ViewBoard over there. So with our mounts and with our solutions, that is the perfect combination, really.
That's awesome. I love that. And again, I'm now thinking of all these different ways. Like when I was a music teacher, the art teacher used to have kind of a gallery wall as you walked in. I can see having the cart there, they roll it out and you get to see all the student work as like a student showcase. Oh gosh, I love it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm curious if there's any questions in the Q&A. I'm going to double check for you all, see if you have any questions about mobile carts or anything. So I see one, maybe this is for you all. Will there be any whiteboard options that support ViewSonic 98 or 110 interactive displays?
Yes, we already offer these. The mount that Celeste showed first is the mobile version of our e-box 3 mobile cards, and that can actually hold up to a 115-inch ViewBoard. So whiteboards actually is a funny thing that you mentioned that as well. So the traditional whiteboards, you can even add the traditional whiteboards to the side of the panels as well, and we call that a wings system. Oh, that's actually in our demo room there. So you can see the whiteboards, and you can like open up like cabinet doors. And write on them with special whiteboard markers. But you're right. So we can accommodate from small monitors, small sized interactive flat panels, all the way to 98, 105, 115-inch. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you. Hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah.
I think those are the only questions I have so far, but if anyone has any, it's last call for our balance box questions. Yeah, I think we got that one.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank Sjoerd and Celeste for joining us. This has been really great. If you do have any more questions, you can look at our website for more information on our accessories, our IFP41 slot-ins, WPD900s. And thank you, Sjoerd and Celeste, for joining us. We appreciate you
Thank you so much.
And thanks so much, everyone. We hope you have a fantastic day.